This one's gonna be scary for some of you guys. We are experimenting with Superdorf eggs. My name is Garrett. Welcome back to Out Reptiles. Now, the idea of incubating reptile eggs is outside of a lot of people's comfort zone. We get a ton of questions about our trusty old incubator, cooler style incubators. These things work great. I've been incubating in similar style setups for like 20 years with just minor tweaks. However, sometimes in my brain, I get this itch. I think they call it ideas, and they itch, and they itch, and they itch. What we have done here is scratch an itch. Now, Rob hates this because he's working very hard on breeding the eggs. And the idea of departing away from what we really know, I don't think is like the most exciting of ideas for him.
I probably, no lie, have enough hours in working in that incubator. He could have bought like 6 walk-in, huge, glorious incubators, put them in his backyard, and we could have more incubator space than anybody on the planet Earth. But yet we keep tinkering with this one. Wait, he's not gonna see this, is he?
We use these adult ball python breeder tubs for our hatchlings to go into. And I thought, you know what? I bet I could take the theory behind this incubator and make it work inside of a snake rack. And then how cool would it be if you just pulled out a drawer from a snake rack and you incubated eggs in it? So here's the thing. If you know how to take care of snake eggs well, in the same way you know how to take care of reptiles, I think once you've learned all the rules, you can kind of push them a little bit, right? And try some new things, and this is how innovation is done. Everybody wants me to write them out like a recipe card. Exactly how do I set it? Exactly how do I do this? And exactly how to do I do that. It's not really about a recipe card because I'm in Pittsburgh, you might be in Phoenix, Arizona, where you're running the AC all the time. I've got a concrete floor. Maybe you guys are incubating on your mom's plush carpet in her master bedroom upstairs while you still live at home. So let me just show you what we did here, okay? Here is your Freedom Breeder tub. There's a little bit of a gap on top of this tub, and I wanted to seal that off so it was more airtight. Not completely airtight, but mostly airtight. So I grabbed some of this stuff. It's called Polywall, and it happens to be the exact right thickness to close the air gap above the tub, and it lays down on the tub to press it flat, especially once it gets a little bit of condensation in it. So if I pull that out, you can see that we're actually experimenting with our temperatures and humidity in there, so that's what those are sitting for. But here's what I have done. We're basically taking a method called suspended incubation method. There's a great company called Sim Containers that makes little tubs that you can incubate on, and what we did was we made that inside of our rack. You've got water in the bottom. This is going to be our thermal mass, just like what's inside of the coolers, right? So that distributes the heat evenly from front to back. It creates all of your humidity. And then to have that water not slosh around too much, a lot of people use perlite. We've mixed a little perlite in here just to kind of take up some empty space, but mostly what we're using, carbon charcoal. Charcoal actually works as a purifier. It's what you get in your fish filters, and so it keeps that water pure and clean. And if I ever get any issues with like eggs molding, some of you might remember the bioactive incubation experiment that I ran a little while ago, where we put springtails. They live in this stuff and they eat mold. They don't hurt the eggs. They just come up and like chew any extra mold off, and this will keep the egg air quality really well. Especially if I decide to add any springtails at any point, you can just order those online and throw them in. They're little isopods, little bugs. So we've got our water line established, and we have our substrate media. And what I did was I grabbed some old corrugated roofing stuff. You guys have seen this before. We ran a circular saw set to half of the depth of these corrugations, and we just ran it through. So we made ourselves a nice little thing here that I can balance the eggs on here, and it allows airflow and humidity flow evenly from top to bottom, and we rest our eggs right on top. You'll actually see this is the side that was the bottom sitting towards the water, and it's super wet. This is the side that was the top, and it's clean, nice and dry. No water on that, and so that's where we would set our eggs. So we threw that on top, throw that on there. I originally tried this with the Freedom Breeder heaters, but they just didn't have complete coverage and I didn't have control front to back. I was noticing that the front of the box was a little uneven with the back, so we ripped it all out. We put our own heat in. We can control everything now because we have nice wide tape, totally separate zones, run through a 4-banger thermostat, which is from Freedom Breeder and works really great with this. So let's take a look at some eggs, because yes, I went ahead and tried it to the horror possibly of raw. Oh, it's so nice and warm. All right, I'm gonna flip this off, keep our condensation over there. Yeah, here we are, set up exactly like that. What I did was I moved them off of the back a little bit, just because I didn't want them to be, you know, I wanted them to be kind of centralized and stuff like this as we try it. Now you can see some of them are dimpled in a little bit. This guy's got a little bit of window, but so far all of these eggs are good. Some of you guys are freaking out because there's a drip of water on there. Retic eggs are okay with that. What I think is probably happening is maybe I have a little bit too much air going on in here, because usually I have a way smaller egg box, and so that airflow, those guys kind of desiccated down, and that was in the beginning. That was before I actually threw this sheet on there, so they had a lot of air gap. Now that this is on there, they've started to perk back up and we're taking care of them. I don't know, they look pretty good to me. These guys are actually gonna hatch mid-May. I don't know, maybe we'll do an update. Maybe we'll cut eggs in here. Maybe we won't even tell you what happens, and then we can save face if we're horribly, terribly shamed and embarrassed. We've insulated every single layer with insulation styrofoam, front, sides, back, everywhere, and we ran 2 long, wide heat tapes, front and back. We pushed them out as far as we could. And what that does is allows us to have a front heat zone and a rear heat zone for each of these egg boxes, so that we can kind of control these a little bit differently, because the back is a little bit better insulated. It didn't need quite as much heat as the front, and this allows us to just do those micro adjustments by having 2 heat zones per egg box. So probably the only disadvantage of this is that this thing is like mega insulated and these particular boxes are not. But I am having a whole lot of fun experimenting on these guys. Those guys have a little ways to go. Should be pretty cool. Breeding, it was one of the very few 50% Superdorf orange ghost stripes in the world that's a possible head anery, run to one of our smallest bloodlines of 87.5% Superdorf het aneries. So yeah, maybe we're risking some of the world's highest percentage Superdorf het orange ghost stripes ever to be made for an itchy idea that Garrett had, but I don't know, it's fun. If you guys like this video and think I'm insane and want to watch more, you should check this video out right here. This one right here. Thanks guys, catch you next time.